Welcome back to NewsX World. I'm Thomas Porteous and you are watching Focal Length, where we get you a briefing from topics from across the world. As we know, Armenia and Azerbaijan are two warring nations. So, is this conflict turning into a Russia-Ukraine-like crisis? What role does the Turkey-Azerbaijan alliance play? And can it be stopped? More importantly, is peace possible? And who can make it happen? Let's find out. Joining us is Nvard Chalikyan, a research fellow at Applied Policy Research Institute, Armenia, and a non-resident fellow at Stimson Center. She is an international relations specialist with over 10 years of professional experience. Thank you, Nvard Chalikyan, for joining us. My first question to you is, Armenia's Prime Minister, Nikol Pashinyan, has said his country could face a war with neighbouring Azerbaijan if it does not compromise and return villages that it's held since the 1990s. Do you think these two wars are in the works already? Can the world afford another war?
When, after the breakup of the Soviet Union, Armenia and Azerbaijan were in a war, that was mostly for the Nagorno-Karabakh. The Nagorno-Karabakh people were actually fighting for their independence. And after really a brutal war that was to the self-determination of the people of Nagorno-Karabakh, the Armenians managed to take control of the Nagorno-Karabakh, which was and has always been ancient Armenian land and territory. So for 30 years, the Armenians kept control of that region. However, in 2020, Azerbaijan, with the help of Turkey, as well as Pakistan, launched a full-scale war to take control of that region by force. And unfortunately, it succeeded in that. Basically, Azerbaijan set a precedent of solving the conflict, so-called, by using force. And that is not something that should be acceptable to begin with. Because it got away with that way of solving the conflict, what is following now is that Armenia has lost a lot of its defense capacity because the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan has been reduced, and Armenia has become a lot more vulnerable. Both Turkey and Azerbaijan, considering their capacity, their military and other types of resources, are incomparable with Armenia. Armenia is only 3 million people, and Turkey and Azerbaijan are just over 50, 60 million together. So this is an unequal struggle. And Armenia has always been in this unequal struggle. So if we recall 1915, it was a genocide committed against the Armenian people by Turkey and by the Ottoman Empire. And it has never been recognized. The Ottoman Empire and Turkey never paid the price for that. And what is continuing now is very much similar to the policies that were pursued 100 years ago. And this is very unfortunate. When you're asking about the villages and about the return, I disagree with that term because I do not believe that these villages belong to Azerbaijan in the first place. I believe this is a manipulation, and it is very unfortunate that today Azerbaijan is speaking with the threat of use of force. This is the heart of the matter. So because they are stronger and they have an upper hand, and they are stronger militarily, obviously, they can demand something based on so-called maps from some from some Soviet times, which are very debatable, which are very disputable. This is very inaccurate to say that Armenia has been holding Azerbaijani territory. There is nothing of that sort. And it is not legally verified either. So whatever is happening currently is not about villages. It is not even about Nagorno-Karabakh that is already under the control of Azerbaijan. And totally, the 120,000 Armenians have been ethnically cleansed from Nagorno-Karabakh. It is not even about that. It is about having an upper hand over Armenia. It is about strategy of Azerbaijan to occupy strategic positions, to do a salami slicing tactic towards Armenia, to make Armenia even more weak, and to have an upper hand on strategic heights, roads, and infrastructure. When we're speaking about villages, this is actually strategic villages and strategic positions that are located in the border between Iran and Armenia, as well as between Armenia and Georgia. So on the north of the country and on the south of the country. These are the only two roads that Armenia has opened because the borders, the two borders that Armenia has opened, with Iran and with Georgia, because the one with Turkey and the one with Azerbaijan are closed. What they are trying to do actually is a strategy of strangling Armenia, of cutting Armenia from the roots with Iran and with Georgia, which is going to be very detrimental if we agree to this.
Do you think that the conflict between Armenia and Azerbaijan has the potential to become another Russia-Ukraine type situation?
I do not believe that because simply of the size of Armenia and because there is a different interplay in this region. However, it is unfortunate that Armenia is now caught between the West-Russia rivalry. We have been trying really hard to maintain a balance, not to be too pro-Russian, not to be too pro-Western. We have succeeded so far, but now it seems that Armenia is really caught in this binary, and it is not good for Armenia to be forced to choose sides. Armenia is still a part of Collective Security Treaty Organization. It's formally an ally of Russia. However, very disillusioned with how Russia did not come to help Armenia. This is the popular sentiment also in Armenia, unfortunately. And at the same time, Armenia is trying to have better ties with the West, which is a good thing. However, antagonizing Russia in the process of trying to build better relations with the West carries a lot of risks for Armenia as well. So this is a very tight rope that Armenia is walking. I would like to say that what matters for Armenia, first and foremost, is security. So we need to keep that in mind because we have countries that don't wish well to Armenia, if I can put it very mildly.
What do you think would be the global repercussions of Turkey-Azerbaijan nexus and their advancement into Armenia? How can that be stopped?
This is the key question that we're also asking ourselves. Armenia is not alone in its geopolitical setting, and there are countries that the interests of which coincide with those of Armenia. We know that Armenia has developed relations with India, and this is something this is a new development, relatively new development. So if we speak about the countries that have common interests with Armenia, one of them is Iran, another is India, and there are others as well. But the regional dynamics is developing in a direction that it is obvious that Armenia needs a lot more support in order to withstand the pressure that it is currently undergoing. When we're speaking about India-Armenia, it is important to mention that the relationship is strategic because the infrastructure projects in the region are very much in line with the interests of India when we're speaking about North-South transport corridor, for instance. This is something where the interests of India, Iran, and Armenia, as well as Georgia, are aligned, because this is a project that would allow India to reach Europe in a much shorter way compared to the current traditional one through Suez Canal and even the northern route. So the countries that have common interests with Armenia should be supporting more, if I can put it that way.
Do you think there will ever be peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan? If so, then what country or power is capable of brokering the deal?
I believe the peace in this region is possible only if there is a proper balance of power. What we're witnessing at the moment is the result of the break of the power balance in favor of Azerbaijan. The peace can be restored if Armenia is strong enough to defend herself. That is the only way for me, and that is the just way. Otherwise, it is like a survival issue for Armenia. But the Armenian people are quite resilient, and trying to restore the balance of power is the task that we are trying to fulfill these days. For that, Armenia needs more defense capacity. It needs more support in the security terms. When you're speaking about a broker, it is really hard to say, because Russia has been the broker so far, and we saw that the Russian peacekeeping mission has given way to Azerbaijan in Nagorno-Karabakh. So if Russia played a positive role, it would be really good. But there are a lot of questions related to that. One thing I can say for sure, that Turkey is definitely not the country that can play the broker's role, because it has its own interests and it has its own biases. And its goal is to establish land connectivity with Azerbaijan. If you look at the map, you will see that Armenia is standing in between Turkey and Azerbaijan. And it is a common policy of both countries to have this what they call the Zangezur corridor. I'm putting it in quotes because Zangezur refers to the southern part of Armenia, which is a part of Republic of Armenia. So when they're speaking about Zangezur corridor, they mean establishing land connectivity that is not going to be controlled by Armenia. And this is something that is not and cannot ever be accepted by Armenia, because this is going to cut Armenia from Iranian border and create a lot more complications. Turkey's policy of establishing this connectivity goes far beyond the region. It has far-reaching implications with the aim of having greater influence in the Central Asia and in South Asia. And if we consider the links between Turkey, Azerbaijan, and Pakistan, it is also going to directly or indirectly affect India, because the alliance of three brothers, Turkey, Pakistan, and Azerbaijan, is going to get stronger if this project materializes, and which will mean like greater issues for other countries, including India.
Thank you, Nvard Chalikyan, for speaking to us on Focal Length. With that, it's a wrap on this episode. For more international news updates, stay tuned on NewsX World.